This is practice problem number 4 from lesson 13, solving systems of equations. This is unit 4. Problem number 4 is much like problem number 3. Imagine that you have two sisters riding towards each other on bicycles. They are 21 miles apart. That's the difference in the y-intercept. And they're riding towards each other at a combined rate of 6/4 miles per hour. That's 5/4 minus a negative 1/4. And 6/4 is the same as 3/2. So they're riding towards each other at 3/2 miles per hour. How many of those 3/2 can you take out of 21? That's when they are going to meet. And that answer is 14 hours. So 21 divided by 3/2 equals 14. So those are the numbers to look for as we go through this. And that's the reasoning. So once again, the y-intercepts. The difference in the y-intercepts is 19 minus a negative 2 is 21 units. So they are 21 units apart along the y-axis at a positive 19 and negative 2. The slopes, the difference in the slopes, or the rates, is 5/4 minus a negative 1/4. That equals 6/4. Now, since this is 21 up here, I'm kind of looking for a 3 or a 7 to divide by. So eventually the difference in the y-intercepts gets divided by the difference in the slopes. So 21 divided by 3 or 21 divided by 7, and here's that 3 right here. So the difference in the slopes is 6/4. 6/4 simplifies to 3/2, so it's 3/2 units along the y-axis for every unit along the x-axis. So 21 divided by 3/2. So here's the 21 units along the y-axis, and they are moving together. These graphs are moving towards each other at a rate of 3/2 units for every x unit. So I'm going to zoom in on this in a moment and look at this a little bit closer so you can see these numbers. So it's 21 units along the y-axis for every 3/2 units along the x-axis. So here, if I zoom in on it and get rid of everything, so 1 unit along the x-axis. So down here, if I go 1 unit along the x-axis, that's 5/4 of a unit along the y-axis. And up here, it's the same thing, 1 unit along the x-axis, but now it's a 1/4 unit along the y-axis, but it's a negative 1/4. You combine those lengths, they combine to equal 6/4 of a unit, or 3/2 units. So these 2 points are 3/2 units closer. So as an example, let's take this out 4 units, because that's the slope. For every 4 units, this graph goes up 5 units, and for every 4 units, this graph goes down. It's a negative 1 unit. That's what these two slopes mean. So go out 4 units, this is up 5 units. Go out 4 units, this is a negative 1 unit. So that 5 minus this negative 1 is the same as 5 plus 1, so it's a combined length in this case of 6 units for 4 units along the x-axis. Go out another 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are going to be 6 units closer. Go out another 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are going to be 6 units closer again. And notice they're only 3 units apart now, 1, 2, 3. So that takes just 2 more units along the x-axis for those two graphs to intersect. So it's a total of 14 units along the x-axis for the two graphs to intersect. So 21 units along the y-axis divided by 3/2 units along the y-axis for every unit along the x-axis. Well, 21 divided by 3/2, look at it a bunch of different ways, but it's 21 times 21 units along the y-axis times 2 units along the x-axis for every 3 units along the y-axis. A little bit cumbersome in there, but just look at the 21 times 2/3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 2 times 7 is 14. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. 2 times that 7 is 14 units along the x-axis. So x equals 14. Now it seems like a lot, but it's really not. It's 21 divided by 3/2 equals 14. So think about 2/3 of 21. 1/3 of 21 is 7. 2/3 of 21 is 14. Now to figure out how far it is along the y-axis, just use either of these equations and replace x with 14. So right here, y equals a -1/4 x plus 19 equals a -1/4 times 14 plus 19. Well, 14 times 1/4 is 14/4. And I know, and you know, that 12/4 is equal to 3. So I'm going to pull out 12/4. So there's the 12/4 plus another 2/4. These are both negative. So that 12/4 is the same as equal to -3. And this is a -1/2. So combine them back together. So it's -3 and 1/2. 19 plus a -3, or 19 minus 3 is 16. Take away another 1/2 from 16, and you end up at 15 and 1/2. So the coordinates that are on both graphs are at the same time is an x-coordinate of 14 and a y-coordinate of 15 and 1/2. That's the only time where the x-coordinate and the y-coordinate give you the same coordinate pair for both graphs. That is the solution. Okay, now algebraically, so we're going to look for these calculations over here as we go through the algebra. And I'm going to rewrite subtracting a +2 as adding a -2. That way I can look at the difference a little bit easier. So 5/4 x plus a -2 minus a -2. I want to get rid of this -2 here, so I'm going to subtract -2. And on this side, to keep it balanced, it's 19 minus a -2. That's that difference in the y-intercepts. That's this calculation right here, 19 minus a -2. That equals a +21. So now we have 5/4 x, so this has gone away, equals a -1/4 x plus 21. So now I want to get rid of that -1/4 x on this side. So I'm going to subtract that away. On this side, I have to do the same thing to keep the equation balanced. 5/4 x minus a -1/4 x. Well, that's the difference in the rates, or the difference in the slopes. It turns out that's the combined rate that the graphs move towards each other. 5/4 minus a -1/4, 5/4 minus a -1/4. That is equal to 6/4 x equals 21. The 6/4 simplifies to 3/2. So now we're back to where we were before. This is going to be, x is going to equal 21 divided by 3/2. 21 divided by 3/2. That's the same as multiplying by the multiplicative inverse. 3/2 times 2/3 equals 1. So that goes away. And 21 times 2/3, well, 2/3 of 21, we just talked about that, is equal to 14. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 2 times 7 equals 14. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 2 times 7 is equal to 14. 14 units to close the gap. 14 units along the x-axis to close that gap. And to figure out what the y-coordinate is, once again, is 5/4 times 14. It's not going to use the other equation just to show you. 5/4 times 14 minus 2. Well, 4/4 times 14, that's 1 times 14, or 14. And then it's another 1/4 times 14. This is using the distributive property. 4/4 times 14 plus 1/4 times 14. Well, that's equal to 14 plus 1/4 of 14, or 14/4. 14/4, 12/4 is equal to 3. So this is going to be 3 and 2/4. So it's 14, 15, 16, 17. 2/4 is the same as a half. 17 and a half minus 2. So 14, 15, 16, 17. There's the 12/4 right there, plus the 2/4. That's 3 plus 1/2. This is going to be 17 and a half minus 2 equals 15 and a half. So the coordinate pair for the solution is 14 for the x-coordinate and 15 and a half for the y-coordinate.